All right, good morning, everyone. Go ahead and please take your seats. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's Monday, May 19th at 9:30. We are going to start the Neighborhoods, Community Services, Public Health, and Safety Committee meeting with introductions to my left.
Brittany Norris for the administration.
Brandon Russell, Council Research.
Philip Peterson, Council Auditor's Office.
Kim Taylor, Council Auditor.
Brian Parks, Council Auditor's Office.
Good morning, Jimmy Peluso, District 7.
Good morning, Chris Miller, At-Large Group 5.
Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Ron Salem, Group 2 at Large.
Good morning, Michael Boylan, District 6.
Good morning, Tyrona Clark Murray, District 9.
Randy White, District 12, just visiting.
Matt Carlucci, At-Large Group 4, just visiting.
All right. Thank you for the introductions. We got some cards that are coming up. We got one more. So we've got quite a long agenda today. So what we're going to do, if everyone will kind of follow along here. First things first, there was a pretty tragic accident in my district, District 5, along Bay Meadows Road. Father Mitch Patch was crossing the street with his 1-year-old, and they did not make it, and that was a very, very tragic piece of news that I received, and that should just kind of, let everyone just kind of lift them up in your prayers if you can. So we're going to just take a quick moment of silence for that, and then we'll get into the agenda. So thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. So with that, we will go through the agenda, make sure everyone's comfortable with all the items, then we'll go into public comment, and then we'll get into the show. Item number 1, 2024-966 is deferred. Item number 2, 2025-138 is deferred. Item number 3, 2025-189 is deferred. Item number 4, up for action. Councilmember Matt Carlucci is here, so we will take that up first. And then, Councilmember Johnson, he's coming? I know he has an emergency in the back. Okay. All right, number 5, 2025-275 is up for action. Item number 6, 2025-276 is going to be deferred. So everyone, you can mark your agendas there. Item number 7, 2025, amend and move. And we do have a auditor recommended amendment there on number 7, 2025-277. Item number 8, 2025-278, up for action. 9, up for action. 10, up for action. Is Mr. Jeffrey here? Okay, cool. And Ms. Long, are you here? All right, good. Number 11, 2025-282 is up for action. And number 12, 2025-283 is up for action. Number 13, amend and move with an amendment down below. Number 14, is Ms. Ray here? No? Okay, I think the auditors can walk us through that. Number 14, amend and move. 15, withdrawal. 286 is up for withdrawal. Number 16, 2025-287 is amend and move. Number 17, 2025-288 is up for action. Actually, is someone, let me go back real quick. Number 16, 2025-287, is someone here from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce? Okay. We're going to take you up towards the beginning just because there's a lot of long discussion that's going to happen on other legislation, and I'm sure you have a job to get back to. So we'll accommodate you there. Number 17, up for action. 18, action item. 19 is deferred. 20 is up for withdrawal. 21 is up for action. That is United Way. United Way is here. Hello. And Good to see you. Number 22 is deferred. Not on the agenda, but it is deferred. So everyone mark number 22 as deferred. 23, 24, 25, 26 are second reading. Number 27 is Councilmember Johnson's emergency legislation that we will go to once he gets here. And 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 are all second reading. And there he is, Councilmember Johnson. Thank you for joining us, sir. All right, so what we'll do, everyone, just to recap real quick, before we go to action item number 4 on the agenda, we're going to go to, we'll go to the emergency first for Councilmember Johnson, then we'll go to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce bill, and then we'll go ahead and start on number 4. All right, so with that, we are going to go ahead and go into public comment, and then we'll start the agenda. All right, first up, we have Shannon Blankenship. Come on down, state your name and address. Public comment. Go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today, and thank you all. My name is Shannon Blankenship. The address on record for Riverside Avondale Preservation is 2623 Herschel Street in Jacksonville, Florida 32205. I'm the executive director of Riverside Avondale Preservation, and I'm here today to support 2 bills on your agenda. The first one being, and sorry, I have to look up the numbers, 2025-0277. This codifies the name of Peace Memorial Park, which is a park in the historic district that is commonly known as Peace Memorial Park. Some of the amendments on here, we support all of them, are really excited to see this parks project move forward in the district, which has wide support of the neighborhood and the community. That's number 7. The other item to support today is number 5, 2025-0275, and this is for support of the 5 Points Merchant Association and some really needed investments there to keep the area clean. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will go to the next speaker card. We have John Nooney.
Hello, I am John J. Jelly Roll, Intangible, Good Boy Nooney, 8356 Bascom Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32216, City Council District 4, CPAC, Planning District 3, School Board District 3. Okay, I'm going to be touching on agenda items 1, 3, 4, 5. Agenda item 6, 2025-0276. That's the John Daly Good Boy at Large 19th hole on Pottsburg Creek fine legislation 2025-0019. And finally, an acquisition number 137-044-000 and 158833-0000. Agenda item 8, 9, 14, 2025-0285, 15, 18, 2025-0289. It's Millers Creek, Notton Waterways, 26, 2025-0322. That's Big Bottom, Pottsburg Creek. President Donald J. Trump, pardon Nooney. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you. So with that, we are going to go ahead into item number 27, 2025-0325, looking for a motion on the emergency. We have a motion and a second on the emergency. Can someone please state the emergency?
Through the chair of the committee, the nature of the emergency is that the funds have been requested for the 2025 NUSA conference, which is scheduled to begin tomorrow.
All right. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Clark Murray. Go ahead. You're recognized. Go ahead. You can. This is on the emergency? Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Chair. And once again, good morning to everyone. So through the chair to the bill sponsor. So this event is going to be Wednesday. How will the neighborhood organizations find out that this money is available for them to register? And with it being such a so close to the event date, how is this going to work? I'm going to say retroactively, meaning that they pay and then they'll be reimbursed. So what's the process in regards to the neighborhoods finding out about this? the money being available for registration fees, and then how will that work for them? Will they need to pay up front and then apply for reimbursement? What will the case be? Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson, do you want to?
Yes,
Okay, go
thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everyone. Thank you, and also, Mr. Chair, thank you for allowing us to move up, because I'm sure we all got a busy day today. Through the chair to the councilwoman, thank you for the question. I think it's important, this Neighborhoods Conference, just to add a little context to it, this is its 50th, bless you, this is its 50th anniversary here in Jacksonville, started in 76, 77. But there will be no reimbursement processes. All of the council should have received an email from the Neighborhoods Department inviting them and their ECAs. There should have been a subsequent email coming with a separate link. There will be no reimbursement necessary, because if you go to that link I know Mr. Waters I spoke to him earlier. I think he's on the way, but there'll be a subsequent link. I'll follow up and make sure it's there from us to send if there are special community organizations that the council has that we want to make sure that are there. But the registered community and neighborhood organizations that have been registered with our city neighborhoods department, which number in the thousands, I think. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's over 1,000. But all of those neighborhood organizations that are registered have already received invitation, as well. It's gone out to all of the CPACs. So for those individuals and or associations that are interested, all they have to do is go to that link, register, and there's no payment required from them at all. The other thing I want to make clear as a part of this to the entire committee is these funds were realized from a savings that was in the ITD department. I'm very thankful to the auditors, the team from the auditors, all of them, specifically you, Phil. And we went through it line by line, but we found this money, and the funds that will not be used for the neighborhood conference, if there are any left over, if you'll see in that clause, will then go into the contingency for the council. Hope that explains it, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Councilmember Salem, are you on the emergency? Go for it.
I have some questions on the bill, but I'll start with the emergency. Bill's not passed until Tuesday, assuming it is passed, which is after the conference. So I'm trying to understand how we can, is there a specific fee that each person is charged or each neighborhood is charged that's going to be credited to this?
Yes, there is a specific conference attendee fee. Since this is not our conference, we are just the host city for it this year. Yes, there is a conferee fee, but the way it works is, and even though it's retroactive, I went and had these meetings when I talked to the neighborhoods department, found that we could do this because I wanted to get Jacksonville involved. That was one of the issues I saw, that our neighborhoods weren't involved in the conference. When we were able to find these funds, we knew that there's a possibility, and I explained that to the neighborhoods director and the conference team that I worked with before proposing this legislation. There is certainly a chance that this may not pass, that these funds may just go into general fund or go into the contingency. They understand that that's a possibility, and I do believe there's enough, from my understanding, buffer in case that happens. But I know for me, I had a responsibility to at least try, and that's what this is.
What is the fee, through the chair? What is the fee that each neighborhood would be charged, or each individual would be charged?
I believe the total conference fee, and please, I don't know that specific number. I do believe it's $375. Please don't quote me on that, but I'll make sure you have that number before finance tomorrow.
$375?
I think so. Because this conference goes from, as they said earlier, it starts on Wednesday and goes until Saturday. So there are lots of workshops, people coming in from around the country. One of the speakers that I'm engaged to hearing, guy from Atlanta, did a micro home community. So a lot of different kind of things.
No, I'm very familiar with the conference. The other point that I would make is we're going to have a presentation tomorrow in finance that shows that the neighborhoods department is, I believe, around $1 million in the positive on their budget through March 31st. And I don't understand why, and we didn't know that, or you did not know that when you proposed this legislation, but they have ample resources within their own budget to pay for this at this point. Of course, we didn't know that before. So it would seem like they could pay for it.
Well, according to through the chair, according to the conversations that I've had with both the administration, the neighborhood director, and the conference team that's putting this conference on, this was an opportunity for me and again, I didn't know about the realization of that $1 million. I'll certainly look into it and find those details for you prior to finance tomorrow. But the specifics that I was focusing on is I wanted to make sure as a district council member, not that at large wouldn't, Mr. Councilman Carlucci, but that as a district council member, that all of the districts and organizations could participate in this opportunity. And coincidentally, this is the first time that it's been international, right? So you got some communities in the Caribbean that are coming as well. I wanted to not only showcase Jacksonville, but to also allow our communities to take that stuff away. So I'll certainly look into it, but for now, I still stick by this legislation.
Are you committed to come to finance tomorrow, researching that information with Ms. Taylor, and maybe we can adjust this bill at that point?
I will say intellectually through the chair, I serve at the pleasure of the chair. So yes, Dr. Salem, I will be there tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, and let the record reflect, Councilmember Miller did make the motion for the emergency, and it got a second by Ms. Clark-Murray. Is that correct? Okay. So, with no other speakers in the queue for the emergency, all in favor of the emergency signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The emergency carries. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Can someone please explain the amendment?
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment would clarify the funding will be used not only to offset registration fees, but also contribute to the cost of the neighborhoods department participating in the event. And then we need to also include an amendment to our 5-year IT schedule that's similar to our CIP, but specifically for IT funding to reflect this reduction of the grant application solution, and then include amendment to the grant application solution project information sheets to reflect that reduction.
All right. Are there any questions on the amendment? Okay, so I have a question. Mr. Jeffrey, are you able to come speak real quick? I have a question. Yeah, I know you don't want to, but... So real quick, I mean, this is the first time I'm kind of seeing this and hearing this. Obviously, it's an emergency, so we want to make sure that we do it, if it's needed. But hearing that y'all have a surplus as well, but this amendment is going to allow money to be used from this allocation to be given to the neighborhoods department for participating in the event? That's what I just heard.
Good morning, Travis Jeffrey, Chief Housing and Community Development. I can't really speak to that. I'm not really sure about the department-wide. I mean, I handle all the funds for the division, for the housing division, but not for the housing, or for the neighborhoods department, sorry.
Okay. Is anyone here from the neighborhoods department that cares to answer the question? All right. So I guess to Councilmember Johnson, why is it paying for the neighborhoods department to participate in the event?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was trying to find the queue on both screens. I got a little confused. I wasn't in the queue. So I can speak to that because I asked, you know me in research, Mr. Chair, I asked all these questions. So the reason is there's a cost associated with the city that's the host city in producing the conference. So there's some fees that we have to pay, some of the things that we have to do locally to produce it. We are getting somewhat of a break. Obviously, we own the Prime Osborne and things like that, right? So, but there are fees that we have to pay basically for management of that, for security, for things. So it's not like we're giving a check over to NUSA. And additionally, that's the reason if the funds, and please, through the chair, Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, through the legislation, if these funds are not used specifically for this conference and for this thing, it goes back into the contingency.
Okay.
Or goes, not back, into the contingency.
Go ahead, Mr. Pearson.
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson, that's correct.
Okay. And thank you, Councilmember Johnson. And I guess Mr. Peterson, do we know what's the fee to the city we don't know that either? Okay. Councilmember Johnson, did you know the fee for that?
I don't, but Mr. Chair, what I will do, as Dr. Salem requested earlier, if I hope that the neighborhoods will pass this, but I'll make sure that I have this additional detail for finance in the morning.
Okay. All right. Anyone else on the amendment? Are you on the amendment, Councilmember Salem? Okay, you're recognized.
I would just request that the neighborhoods director be here tomorrow, because I can assure you this will get a whole lot more scrutiny tomorrow in terms of the contingency. I mean, the over budget that they have a $1 million positive, as I understand it right now, through March 31st. why we're using these dollars for expenses for the conference. And I understand that the sponsor was not aware of all this, so I don't have a problem approving this today, but I think it's going to get a whole lot more scrutiny tomorrow once we have the neighborhoods director here, and he could answer some of my questions, and I'm sure other questions as well. Thank you.
All right. And I did just get notification that Director Waters is going to be here in a few minutes, but I don't know if we want to. Is everyone comfortable with this, or do we want to table it? Let's table it just so we can get all the questions answered and then pass it in the right form, and then it'll go through to finance, and then that'll kind of set the stage a little bit better for finance. So, Ms. Tofopoulos, do we need to table it, or can we just skip? We're kind of in the middle of it. We're on the amendment.
To the chair, if you want to table it now, when we go back to it, when the committee goes back to it, what I would recommend you just do is move the emergency and take it up, so you start from the beginning. That way, since you're right in the middle of it, you can just, for the record, make sure you go through each of the steps when it comes back up.
Okay, cool. Just no one asks any questions on the emergency. Just kidding. All right. So we're going to table 27 for now. Councilmember Johnson and Mr. Director Waters should be here soon. So with that, we are going to go back in the agenda to page 11. Page 11, and we're going to skip to item number 16, 2025-287. We did a second. All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Can someone please explain the amendment?
Through the chair to the committee, the amendment would just clarify that rather than making 4 quarterly installment payments, it would be 4 equal installment payments. And given that we're 8 months through the year already, and this contract is effective October 1 through September 30th, the advance payments would be 4 equal payments.
Okay, great. And see no one in the queue. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. All right, we have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. There's no... Mr. Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Perhaps someone from the chamber can answer the question. Or maybe Philip, in the description below the amendments, you mentioned access to capital in terms of are any of these funds going to be used for the purpose of accessing capital, or just creating the process for accessing capital?
Through the chair to Councilmember Boylan, the way the term sheet is worded is that they will provide assistance to their organizations to help them access capital. These dollars will not be capital accessed by outside organizations.
And the second question is for my colleague, Mr. Carlucci, Chair. Typically, we look for the bill introducer to be at these meetings for their bills. I'm curious as to why we're proceeding on this one.
So that is true. However, we did make kind of a blanket, if this is for strategic initiative dollars, because of how that got flubbed last year, we haven't been requiring it for strategic initiatives. So that's my understanding. We're going to kind of keep true to that. And if we could get some quietness over there in the hallway. Sounds like Steve. All right, Councilmember Peluso, did you want to speak? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you made that clarification. I mean, I'm perfectly fine moving on this bill. I actually want to co-sponsor it as well. I'm very familiar with this organization and what Councilmember Arias is intending to do with the money, or what this organization is intending to do with the money. So I'm very supportive. I say we vote it up.
All right. And no other speakers in the queue. I just wanted to add, Councilmember Miller, you're recognized.
Real quick, thank you through the chair. Because this has already been appropriated previously, I don't have any problem with the sponsor not being here. And also, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. This organization serves a part of our community that hasn't gotten a lot of attention for a long time, and now is, and I think it's a good thing. So happy to support this. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. And if no one else is in the queue, but I just wanted to get just a brief from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, just kind of overview of what the dollars will be used for and so on and so forth. If you can come forward with your name and address, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Quimby Ford, representing the First Coast Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This bill is in favor of representing the Hola Emprende, or the Succeed Now program that is happening across the city. What the goal of it is to get language immersion services, taking small businesses from their startup to fruition, giving education. We're also doing AI workshop enablement for small businesses, getting them up and running. And what we're missing is our language. So it's mostly, making sure that everything we have around us, we can understand it, and our small businesses can understand it to utilize it. Currently, we have under 50% that are able to get loans for their small businesses, over 50%. It's really a small number, so we want to really address that going forward this year in the community.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
And Legislative Services, please add me as a co-sponsor. And we have 2 other speakers in the queue. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you. Stick around, though. Sit right there in the front row just in case everyone's got questions. Queue's filling up. Councilmember Peluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I understand. So it does say that oversight is going to be done by sports and entertainment, and I just kind of want to see where that kind of logic came from as opposed to grants, and if someone can answer that, looks like Mr. Peterson.
Through the chair to Councilmember Peluso. So taking you back to September of last year, these funds were put in the sports and entertainment office or department, thinking that it could be an event contribution at the time. When they went to work things out with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, everyone realized that we needed a direct contract to carry out the end purpose that they intended the funds to be used for. Since the funds were already in sports and entertainment, Councilmember Arias instructed us just to leave them there for purposes of the grant. I believe grants and contract compliance would also be an applicable area to oversee this contract as well.
Through the chair. Okay. I mean, so long as sports entertainment is willing to I'm seeing head shaking from the administration. Do we want to? I mean, yeah, that does seem like an odd one. I don't know why we wouldn't have it go through grants. Through the chair to the administration, do you have anything you want to post about that?
We would prefer that oversight remain in grants. They are set up to properly manage this contract. I understand the dollars are for events, but this is for a series of ongoing events, and I don't believe sports and entertainment is ready to track something multiple times.
Through the chair, I'd like to offer an amendment then to move it from sports and entertainment to grants as the grant administrator.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the Peluso amendment to move it to procurement.
Through the chair. So in moving it to grants and contract compliance, we will need to do a revised BT to move the funds into a grants and contract compliance account. So I just want to make sure you all understand with the oversight, we'll need to shift the appropriation to the appropriate account.
Okay, yep, that makes sense because I think it was originated here, so kind of everything else followed it, so we'll have to change the origination, Okay, all right, any other discussion on the Peluso amendment? Did you, okay, we'll go through the queue. Councilmember Clark Murray, Councilmember Salem, and then we'll take a vote.
All right, thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Popoulos, this does not postpone or do anything in regards to timing of this bill. However, it still will go before City Council in our next meeting. Yes
Through
or
the
no?
chair to Councilmember Clark Murray, yes, correct. So this won't change the legislative process or make it any longer. It'll still go to council, assuming it gets reported out by the other committees and there's no other discharge or delays that are needed, then yes, it'll come to council next.
Right, thank you for that. And to the chair, through the chair to Legislative Services, please add me as a co-sponsor.
Councilmember Salem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Is there any reason to believe the bill sponsor would have an issue with changing this? That's what concerns me.
Well, I'll just speak to that real quick. I don't know, but it can go to finance. It's going to go to finance tomorrow, and if he has an issue, then he can just change it back.
Okay. I'm sorry, through the chair to Ms.
Sorry, I can't request to speak. It's not up. Through the chair to Councilmember Salem. So I had spoken to Councilmember Arias about this initially when we prepared the legislation, and at first he wanted to go ahead and leave it in sports and entertainment, believing that it would be faster to be able to, once the agreement is approved, cut the checks because they were prepared to do that. However, I did speak to him during part of the process about maybe it made more sense in grants and contract compliance, and he didn't have an objection to that. I think he was just looking at it as a pathway of least resistance at the time, meant leaving it in sports and entertainment, but there was no objection.
Okay, I'm happy to pass it. As was stated, it'll be in finance tomorrow. We can always adjust it if need be. Thank you.
All right, all in favor of the Councilmember Peluso amendment, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. So we need to roll those two. Well, let's keep them separate just in case. Is that maybe a good idea when it goes to finance?
To the
Let finance
chair,
roll it up.
so you can roll it up. If you wanted to roll it up in neighborhoods, you can do that. And then if finance doesn't agree with that portion of it, then we could file a separate finance amendment rather than filing two neighborhoods amendments. It's the same number of amendments that end up getting
Okay,
filed.
cool. We'll go ahead and roll them up, and we'll look for a motion on the bill. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, my questions and concern raised earlier doesn't mean that I don't support this bill. I absolutely do. Would like to be added as co-sponsor. Thank you.
All right. That being said, open the ballot, record your votes.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-287 as amended. All right, thank you so much for coming. We're going to go back now to the item that was tabled before, page 16, the emergency 2025-325. And as a reminder, we're going to move the emergency, go into the amendment, and then get any questions answered now that Director Waters is here. Thank you for joining us. So with that, we're looking for a motion on the emergency. A motion and a second on the emergency. All in favor of the emergency signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The emergency carries. Look, the amendment? There we go. Look, all right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. And go ahead and restate the amendment for us, and then we can kind of go into questions on the amendment. Okay, everyone?
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment clarifies that funding will not only be used to offset registration fees, but also assist neighborhood in putting on the cost of the event, and then including amendment to our 5-year IT development plan schedule to remove the grant application solution and then make the corresponding changes to the grant application solution project information sheets.
All right, excellent. So we had a motion and a second. Now we'll go to the discussion. Councilmember Salem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to Mr. Waters, I don't know if you heard the discussion. My understanding is you have a $1 million positive variance in your budget as of March 31st, and I'm trying to understand why we need to spend these dollars towards this event when you obviously have enough money to do it yourself. Can you answer that?
Good morning, Councilman Salem. At this moment, we're only looking at what's available. That variance that you're speaking of isn't completely tangible at this point. We have definite costs that we have to cover. Some of them we were able to put off after the conference. But if there is another way to be able to do this, I would definitely be interested in being able to carry those costs.
Through the chair to the auditors, is this money available? Is there any reason why it's not available? That surplus?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, these are projections within the quarterly summary from the budget office, so they could certainly TD through MBRC dollars. It looks like most of it is in salaries and benefits where they have vacancies, so they can TD under the mayor's authority, the 100,000, to whatever line items that they would need to use those dollars.
Do you have any objection to doing that and then moving this whole 200 to the council contingency?
I don't have any objections. I would just want to follow protocol and do what's necessary in order to put on this conference to be able to benefit the city.
Well, the dollars aren't going to be available until Tuesday either way, assuming it passes the council. So you could take the action through the mayor's budget review committee to TD to whatever amount that you need.
Yes. I just seek your support in whichever route we take. I'm not particularly set on one way or another. I just know that we have costs for this conference. It's been pretty significant. And whichever route is recommended will be the route that we'll take.
Well, I'm going to vote against this today. I think that's the appropriate route to do. But I do want the 200 to go to the council contingency. So is there a way to accomplish that and vote down this bill?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem. So Councilmember Johnson has introduced an additional bill that's on second to later in your agenda. It's item 33, 2025-340, that takes the additional 100,000 and moves it to council contingency.
We could amend that.
So you could amend that bill next cycle if you did not move forward with this bill.
That would be my suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and we have a couple other members in the queue, and Councilmember Johnson, we'll come to you next. We have Councilmember Clark Murray, and then we'll go to Councilmember Miller. But I do want to give the bill sponsor just a moment to kind of reflect on that. Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to Mr. Peterson. So, Councilmember Salem used the term TD. You're going to need to give some explanation. I'm one of those people who say, like, I'm not going to pretend like I know. I like asking the question. So please tell me, what is TD? And then I'm a little, I need to catch up a little bit as to what just occurred in regards to, go ahead and tell me about TD, and I'll ask my next question.
Through the chair to Councilmember Clark Murray. Sometimes we get caught up in our own acronyms. So there's two ways of transferring dollars within the budget. There's the first is a BT or a budget transfer, and that's when council acts. So council transferring, appropriating the transfer of dollars. The other is a TD, a transfer directive, and that's what can be done through the mayor's budget review committee under the guidelines that are established in Chapter 106 of our ordinance code that give her certain transfer authority. In broad terms, that's usually under $500,000 that can be transferred for a single purpose. So in this instance, Councilmember Salem suggesting $100,000 come from another line item in the neighborhoods department. That falls under the mayor's transfer authority, and so therefore is classified as a TD.
Thank you for that, through the chair. So through the chair to Councilmember Salem, what you're requesting the neighborhoods department do is that instead of this appropriation that Councilmember Johnson has brought before us, is that they take the monies out of their existing budget. Is that what you're asking?
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you. So through the chair to Mr. Waters, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So there has been $1 million surplus that has been mentioned. I know we use the term surplus, but are those dollars already earmarked for certain projects so you don't necessarily have $1 million, but it just looks like $1 million on paper?
Currently, the Councilman Clark Murray, currently those funds are what we've identified to be as surplus. They're really, if there's a process to be able to utilize or access those funds and utilize them, I'm willing to do that. They're just not available to us at this moment. And so we identified that with an action that we're about to do, and that action has to go through the process as well. So if it makes it through the process, those funds would be available, but currently they're not completely available. And so if it's possible to be able to access whatever's available at this point to be able to cover those costs that we have, real costs, we could possibly have transfers made in order to place those funds back if we need to do that.
All right. Thank you for that,
Thank you.
Mr. Waters. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. We're going to go to Councilmember Johnson just to kind of share his thoughts in the middle of this. If you have any, if you don't, then we can keep going through the queue. We've got Councilmember Miller and Councilmember Matt Carlucci next.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Mr. Chair. I just had a question. The funds that were realized that were being discussed earlier, and I want to hear the rest of the debate because it may make sense to amend the initial bill, but when I was going through with Mr. Peterson and Ms. Taylor and found those additional funds, you'll notice that that other bill, as he put in. There was $200,000 that we found in savings. I made sure, because I know we kind of broke in the contingency, so I wanted to make sure that we had some funds in there. My question, though, with that $1 million that's realized in savings, and this may be a question through the chair to the administration or to Mr. Waters, specifically, those salaries that are contained in there, does that then mean that you would not be, obviously you'd have to go to MBRC the way it's structured now, but would you have to then not have those positions? And with the amount of CPACs and neighborhood associations, I know we're trying to charter several in my district already, does that mean that those personnel would not be available to those spaces, and then you'd have to go back and try to find money for those personnel? Help me understand how you would be able to realize this $100,000 from those funds.
Councilman Johnson, thank you for asking that question. We've identified some funding, and specifically to your question, those two positions that we currently have are vacant, and we may not fill those positions again. We're actually undergoing an exercise with the restructuring of one of our divisions, and so therefore there are some details to that, but we're going to try to move those positions and the savings from that particular operation as a cost savings. So those cost savings have not, or they're not tangible at this point. So that's why we didn't bank on those. And Ms. Moyer is here to speak on that as well.
Angela Moyer, Budget Office. Through the chair to the committee. So I have a bill that's coming up tomorrow to finance. I'm sorry, I'm winded. I ran down here. Moving the 3% value of the non-public safety collective bargaining contingency into the department's budgets. If that does not pass, the money will not be there, which is why we were doing this legislation. So if the bill goes through, we'll be more than happy to transfer salary and benefit money for this purpose.
Are you telling me, Mr. Waters, thank you for indulging me, Mr. Chair. Mr. Waters, are you telling me that the positions that you have, those two positions that you just brought up, which would equal the $100,000 or so over that, obviously, that's needed, exclusive of what's going to happen tomorrow, so your department can operate efficiently without those two positions?
Well, we're going, Councilman Johnson, we're actually undergoing an operation right now where we're restructuring one of the divisions. And with that, there are two salaries, some equipment, and so forth that will actually equate to that savings.
Did we know that before this legislation was proposed?
We know that, but that's something that we're working on. It's not tangible at this point. It might not pass. It's something that has to actually undergo the process.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Mr. Chair, if I may, to either one of the councils or auditors, probably this is a legal question. Is there a way for us to amend this bill? And Dylan, I'm thinking this must maybe for you directly. I'm not sure, or whomever. I don't know who this goes to, or Mary. Is there a way for us to amend this bill to say that if these funds are not realized in the other way that may happen on tomorrow, that these funds could be used, but if it doesn't, then they go to the contingency?
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson, I would recommend if you wanted to wait until tomorrow to see what transpires with those funds, that you defer the bill here in neighborhoods, and then you can take it back up in finance. Hopefully by then you'll have the answer. And then if it's taken up in finance but deferred here, the president can always discharge it for council on Tuesday.
All right, Councilmember Johnson, are you good with that? All right, we're going to go ahead and defer to number 27. So, Director Waters, Ms. Moyer, I think y'all just be prepared for finance tomorrow. Seems like there's going to be some additional questions. So, but that was good. That was good discussion. I'm glad. Did everyone in the queue want to speak still? Councilmember Carlucci, do you want to speak still? Go for it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's what Ms. Topopoulos said is exactly what I was going to suggest. I would not have taken the bill up today, voting one way or the other. There's some question marks I think can be answered by tomorrow by finance, and I think her suggestion was good. I'm glad that the council member and the sponsor is okay with that. I want to support it, and thank you for accommodating and deferring the bill until we get to finance tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I think absolutely. We want the conference. We want it to be done decent and in order, as they say. But it seems like there's quite a few other moving pieces. So we'll figure it out, as they say. Ms. Stefopoulos, did you want to say
just-
something? The plane has landed.
It has landed. I'm not here to.
We're about to
derail
depart,
anything.
yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to confirm, since no vote was taken on the amendment, we won't be filing anything on behalf of the Neighborhoods Committee on this bill, but obviously we'll take up and file whatever we need to coming out of Finance tomorrow if they act on it.
All right. Thank you so much. Item number 1, page 1. 2024-966 is deferred. Item number 2, 2025-138 is deferred. Item number 3, 2025-189 is deferred. Item number 4 is up for action. Number 2025-266. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Councilmember Macalucci, go ahead if you would like. You're muted.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we know there's a public hearing before this committee, before we get too far down the road. I'm not sure when you want to call that. That's your that's your call.
I don't see a public hearing. There's no public hearing. There's a public hearing at the council meeting, I think. But in the committee
I saw
today,
a public hearing on 5/13.
well, today's 5/19.
Oh, okay. I'd like to say I've been out of town as a good excuse to,
Well, you were out of town.
mistake, but
Oh, yeah,
anyway.
we'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
Just not during those dates. All right. Did you want to tee up the bill before we vote on it, or do you want to just go
Mr.
ahead?
Chair, all I will say is there's been extensive discussion on this and debate. I'm here to answer any questions. If we want to, if there's any questions that people have, I'm here available to the committee with the help of our council auditors and our general counsel. At that point, I'll just put my microphone back up and see where the committee wants to go, and if I need to intervene, I will. Thank you.
All right. We'll just go ahead and go through the queue, get everyone's questions answered. First, Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any questions of the bill sponsor, just some comments in regards to this being the second half or the last leg of the great work that we did earlier this year in regards to solving a problem. I mean, that's our job. Our job is to solve problems for the city, and this is the last piece that solves that problem. The only thing I want to add is that please add me as a co-sponsor of Legislative Services, and thank you, Chair.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Paluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to echo the same sentiment as Councilmember Clark Murray. This is a great bipartisan, statesman-like bill. I'd like to be placed as a co-sponsor as well.
Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to commend the Auditor's Office and Phil Peterson in particularly. I requested a short summary that I could use and share with my constituents, which I did. Some of you know I put out a biweekly email, and I sent it out to roughly 7,500 or more constituents. That didn't get any specific response to that, but I detailed through that process both what he shared and how we got to where we are in this process. And a lot of folks have reached out to me. I understand and appreciate it. I think communication is critical in this process. I would certainly encourage my colleagues, if you've not done so, I know many of you do, take the time to give the answers to those difficult questions that we're being asked. I mean, those who are going to reject it out of hand are going to reject it out of hand no matter what, and encourage that support. But I do commend Councilmember Macalucci and the others for their leadership on this bill, the difficulty of doing it. I think the lesson learned here through this process, and I'm sharing all this now because I'm not going to be available on Tuesday night to speak to it, is that we don't put ourselves in a situation that we kick the can down the road on items. My communication to my colleagues and constituents out there, was the fact that we looked at this a couple years ago, but at the time the quality of the service was so poor, we really didn't feel comfortable in moving it forward. So we kind of put it on pause for a period of time. And now we've seen the parade of increases over the course of time and the means for us to be able to catch up. We could afford to borrow the money before. We're getting to a position where we can't. And so it's really important for us to move forward and take this difficult step. I know it's not easy for many of my colleagues to support this. For whatever reason, ambition or otherwise, that they say, well, gee, I don't want to put my name on this thing in supporting this kind of significant solid waste increase, but it's necessary for us to do. So I look forward to the positive promotion of this bill, and I look forward to getting it to pass next Tuesday.
All right, Councilmember Matt Carlucci. You're the last one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I really want to appreciate and everybody who's been a part of this process. It's been a 1-2, and we've had the public notice, so it's been a very transparent process. I just want to thank those who jumped on as co-sponsors. I really appreciate it, and it truly is a bipartisan bill. And I thank Councilman Miller, Councilman Lannon, Councilmember Tyrone Clark Murray, and Councilmember Peluso, and anybody else who would like to jump on, that would be fine too. But this has been a difficult problem, and we're solving it in the absolutely correct and right way. And regardless how you vote, we'll all be still best friends, unless I can't get 10, then we might have a problem. But all kidding aside, this is one of those votes that I've talked about before. It's a tough one, but it's the one of those votes that when you leave this council, you look back and say, I was on the right side of history, I did the right side, the right thing, and that's political courage, and that's something that we need a whole lot more of in this world today. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. And with that, we will go ahead and open the ballot and record your votes. Sure, go ahead.
5 yeas, 1 nay.
By your action, you've approved 2025-266. Moving on to item number 5, 2025-275. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Councilmember Peluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. This is my bill, and we heard briefly from the Executive Director of RAP, Shannon Blankenship. She came up to speak in favor of it. This is one of my council contingency bills, so we already passed it through the budget process. I ask that you support it now. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. This is a perfect example of an opportunity. We're seeing a lot of interest across the board in supporting neighborhoods and the work that they do, and I'm hopeful to create a similar kind of project in my district, so I like to see these kind of things move forward. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to the bill sponsor, I vaguely recall there being some funding put in by 5 Points. How is it? Is this funding that they collectively put together and then contributed, or is this strictly from your contingency?
Through the chair to Councilmember Clark Murray, you might be thinking of another bill that we passed last year that involved getting trash cans. So if you go to 5 Points today, you'll see very different trash cans. They're the big belly trash cans. We also got banners to help the Merchants Association that's there. This is just a secondary bill that's now creating actual staffers to go and do specific cleanup in the area. So they've collected their own dues, but you know, this is an augment to that.
Okay. Through the chair to Councilmember Peluso. So are they going to hire 2 new workers? Because I know there's going to be one, in a sense, supervisor. Are there going to be 2 new workers, or are they going to utilize the workers that are existing for the city ambassadors, with the city ambassadors?
Through the chair to Councilmember Clark Murray. So the ambassadors are not city ambassadors. Those are with DVI, Downtown Vision. So they are specifically run and only allowed to remain in a specific area where the BID is, the Business Improvement District for downtown. So that stops right at the bridge. It stops right where the Riverside Arts Market is. So 5 Points is obviously a carryover from that. So these are individuals that they'll be hiring within the Merchants Association area.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, we have no other speakers in the queue. And with that, we will go ahead and open the ballot, record your votes.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-275. Item number 6 is deferred. And item number 7 is up for action with an amendment, 2025-277. We have a motion. Do we have a second on the amendment? All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Can someone please explain the amendment?
The
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment just attaches a revised Exhibit 2, which is a grant agreement. There was a page that was missing as an exhibit to the agreement with the Community Foundation, and then also attaches revised Exhibit 3, which is the CIP sheet to reflect the prior year appropriation amounts, and then there's various skirters that need to be corrected as well.
All right, is there any discussion on the technical amendment? No? Okay, let's pass that, and then we will go to the counselor auditor's recommended amendment. So, all in favor of the technical amendment, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. All right, we have a motion and a second on the bill as amended, but we need... Yeah, we want to go to the council. Yeah, we want to go to the... what do we do now? Do we need to unwind that? Okay. So, we have Councilmember Clark Murray in the queue. Do you have a question, or do you want to speak on the auditor's recommended amendment? The bill. Okay. Councilmember Salem, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment consistent with the auditors that this program not start until we receive the money from RAP.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the council auditor's recommended amendment offered by Councilmember Salem. Are there any questions regarding that? All right. Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The second amendment carries. Let's roll those together, please. All right, now we have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I simply want to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, excellent. Let's see, Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, just wanted to ask Mr. Joseph a question if he was willing to come forward here. I just want to talk about the funding a little bit, just to make sure we're clear. I see how it's separated out or divided out, but my question is, through the chair to Mr. Joseph, I see we have $100,000 allocated from countywide parks and recreations and $130 from the trust fund. Was that in any way in your budget plan for this upcoming year? Is that what was already there, or are we going and taking out of those funds for things that probably were allocated for other projects? I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Thank you.
Good morning, Daryl. Good morning, Daryl Joseph, Parks Department. Through the chair to Councilman Miller, thank you for the question. As it relates to the $130,000, that is the funding from RAP. So that will go into our trust fund account. So that's not city dollars. That is the private donation that they will actually provide to us this week. As far as the $100,000, that is in the countywide improvement account. This project was not on my radar at the beginning of the year. But in order to get $865,000, I thought it was a good decision to move forward with utilizing that $100,000.
Okay, so that wasn't allocated already for something else or projected for some other project, but you had it in your budget to be able to work with that $100,000 through the chair.
Through the chair to Councilman Miller, yes. So that funding allows me to do improvements at parks around the county. We were doing some things within that area, so this allows me to use it specifically for this project.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll also say, live not far from this area. I've always wondered, what's going on here. It's just open, has a sign right across from the library, beautiful space with nice shaded area, bus stop right there, so people can come and go if it were further developed. So I'm in support as long as the finances all work out. I'm in support of this, definitely, and would like to be added as a co-sponsor for this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you.
Councilmember Matt Carlucci and then Councilmember Peluso. All right, Councilmember Peluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. To my colleague, Councilmember Miller, I'm very happy that you are a resident of District 7. When it comes to a lot of these of these beautiful public spaces, I would encourage you to come to one of many Riverside Avondale Preservation's organizations, including this Thursday. There's going to be one for the Twilight Party. We could talk all about these kinds of awesome, spaces. But thank you for your support, sir. It's genuinely appreciated.
laying it on thick over there, Councilmember Peluso. We might, and I'll just say that, District 5 does have an amazing park system as well. Anyways, okay, we'll go ahead and go to Councilmember Matt Colucci to wrap it up.
Thank everybody for their support. I want to thank Ms. Blankenship, who's here on behalf of Riverside Avondale Preservation, and for their support, and also for they're a huge partner in this Peace Memorial Park project, and they are giving well over $100,000 towards the labyrinth part of it. I also want to say what an honor I have felt to work with this project, not only with RAP, but with Wayne Weaver, Dolores Barr Weaver, and their family. It was a real touching moment when I got a call from Wayne asking if I would look at a park in that area, and because he wanted to honor his mother and his father. I don't know what it was about that just touched me so, but this is a man who, let's face it, he was probably the most influential man in Jacksonville for many, many years. He brought us, because of his love for Jacksonville, he could have gone to another city, but he decided Jacksonville was where he wanted the Jaguars to be. And he's up in years now, but still remembers mom and dad. And that just told me volumes about what I already knew about this man. What a wonderful treasure he is. This will be an absolute showcase when it's done. And I have to tell you, it's been one of the most enjoyable partnerships that I've worked on. And I want to say this because the Weavers wanted me to make this clear, that they just considered themselves a partner in this. They so don't want to overshadow anything. They just want to be a part of it. And they also are putting together $500,000 in an endowment for the continual perpetual maintenance of this park as well, that some of y'all may not know about. So with that, I'm sure this will get the votes, but what a wonderful experience, what a wonderful honor, and what wonderful people in that neighborhood and the Weavers. Thank you.
All right, we have no other speakers in the queue. Legislative Services, please add me as a co-sponsor. Open the ballot, record your votes.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2025-277. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Through the chair to the auditors, the $500,000 that is going to be used for perpetual maintenance, is that considered a donation? Does that have to come through the council?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, so this agreement doesn't touch on the perpetual maintenance dollars, but based on the legislation that y'all passed, I don't know, it feels like a year and a half ago, yes, an in-kind appropriation, an in-kind donation, a donation of dollars will require approval by council.
Just wanted to verify that was on the table. Thank you. I welcome it, don't get me wrong, but I want to make sure it's approved the appropriate way.
Yeah, any chance we get, Jimmy. All right, guys, 8, 9, and 10 should be pretty easy, and 11. So, item number 8, up for action, 2025-278. Motion and second on the bill. Councilmember Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just want to ask a question about the wording of this particular grant that was received. Is the way it's written here, the way that grant is worded, the criteria? I know it talks about enhancing air monitoring activities in disadvantaged communities, but that's what I'm wondering. Is the wording of the grant and the requirement of the grant that it be just as it's stated, or is there some environmental criteria that is applied that decides where they go? I get why we would want to target those areas. I get that. But I want to make sure we're applying an environmental criteria that those monitoring devices go where most needed, where we have the most air quality concerns and other things reported, that we don't have the ability to monitor. So I want to make sure we've met the requirements of the grants, but also that we put them where we really need them. And so that's what I wanted to ask through the chair. I wanted to ask how that's stated, and is this bill verbiage matching up with that?
Okay, Melissa Long, Chief of the Environmental Quality Division for the City of Jacksonville. Yes and no. So I want to make sure you understand this first bill, because the next one fits with kind of what you're asking, but this one is a mobile air monitoring unit. So it will be housed in a van and moved around to different places. We are concentrating, one of the things that EPA had asked us to do is to concentrate in the disadvantaged areas. We are looking at Health Zone 1. And working with the administration and our air committee for the Environmental Protection Board to determine where some of those other areas might be. We're also, as a secondary effort for this, or secondary use, is that EPA is looking at various other air constituents that or parameters that are of concern, like ethylene oxide. And so we do have a medical sterilization facility here. And so we do also plan to go in the neighborhoods surrounding that facility just to see what the air quality is there. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Through the chair. Thank you, Ms. Long. That did answer my question on this one, and I'm happy to hear it's a mobile unit. So it isn't, I just envisioned, set stationary enhanced monitoring devices. So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Ms. Long, we've heard in a lot of conversation at the number of last committee meeting, council meetings with respect to the morgue, and a lot of folks are talking about the air quality challenges. Can you? Are you looking specifically? I recognize it's a mobile unit. And I appreciate the answer to that question. But is there any effort going to be looked at to see what happens in terms of monitoring the conditions at the morgue? And would this unit be available to do that on a regular basis? Or necessary to do that?
I'm not familiar with what you're talking about exactly, what the issues are there. But yes, we could take this anywhere within the city to see what the air.
Right. Well,
what constituents are in the air? What parameters?
That answers my question. If you're not aware, there's been a lot of concern about the fact we're in the throes of constructing a morgue in the north side of town, immediately adjacent to a neighborhood, and a lot of the neighbors have.
The morgue. I'm sorry, I thought you said something else.
No,
yes.
The morgue. In terms of the concerns, the particulates, et cetera, that may be dispersed from there. Can you speak to whether or not this can play a vital role in addressing that?
I believe it can. Yes, we'll have to take a look at see what air quality, what parameters that we would want to look at next to there, where the parameters of concern. And then the only thing we have to make sure is that it is a parameter that is in the library for that equipment, which there are thousands in that equipment. So as long as it matches, it can. And even if it doesn't, then we can do the research on how the information looks and to find out what constituents might be there. It might take us a little bit of extra research, but as long as it's in the library of parameters, yes, we'll be able to monitor for those.
I think if the administration pay attention to that as a particular concern to many of us, to making sure that we are protecting those neighbors. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
All right, Councilmember Clark-Murray, you recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Ms. Long. So some of my questions have been answered. I'm concerned about the identifying of the health zone. So Health Zone 1, can you give us, we don't have a map associated with the bill. So tell me where Health Zone 1, you can just mention, do you know a couple of streets, a couple of cross intersections?
I wish I did know the streets. It's kind of in the north quadrant of down. It's, I don't know why I can't think of it. Do you know those? It is in the report. But it's like a little bit north of downtown, northeast of downtown, I think, or just north, by Cooker Park. I know Cooker Park is in Health Zone 1.
Mike Williams, I manage the air quality program for City of Jacksonville. Health Zone 1 is pretty much the whole downtown area, everything north of the river, and it extends. It extends not only the north side of Jacksonville, but it extends to the river. And I can't give you specific streets, but it is, if you were to Google Health Zone 1 for Jacksonville, I'm sorry to say that.
No, I
but
understand what you're saying.
It would show you the
Right.
specific map.
So, thank you for that. So, have you had many complaints from that area? And I ask this question because, as a native of Jacksonville, I know where the smelly places are, the smelly sides of town.
Right.
And although some of the residents along Cruthel Park, that's Main Street, that Springfield that you're talking about, maybe a little bit of out east. Just being candid with you, those are not necessarily the smelly parts. Let me tell you what those areas probably smell like. Maxwell House coffee, which is a great smell, especially early in the morning. The smelly parts, those aren't them. Those. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound very intelligent, does it? Those aren't them. But so it's more like out off of Gulf Fair, the Norwood area. Thinking about, and that's District 10, 95, right off of 95. It's horrible, and I can only imagine for the people who live there. So, as I think I've mentioned this before, when I first got on council, those areas that need to be targeted. Maybe some areas off of Heckscher Drive, because there's still a little bit of paper mill smell there sometimes. And then, if we think about 295, 9A, Commonwealth, Lane Avenue, those are the areas where these sensors need to be. And then I know along with Murray Hill, because it's been in the news, it's been reported in the news repeatedly. Every now and then that same wind blows through their neighborhood and they complain about the smell. So please, I understand about Health Zone 1, and I think that's fantastic. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be one there, but there also needs to be the monitors need to be placed at those other areas that I just mentioned. And if you and I if you want to get with me, meet with me a little later, and I can give you some specific areas where we need to see and know about the air quality in those neighborhoods. Because once again, when the wind blows, it shifts and it goes all over Commonwealth, and that is the Paxton area, that is Woodstock, that is the area that's a little bit south of Commonwealth, but I can tell you specifically.
We will be using this all over town. Our EPA requirement is that we have to at least do the 40% of our time with this equipment has to be spent with what the grant says, and we can do 60% outside that grant. This grant is for a 2-year period, but once we have the equipment, we have it. So we'll be able, even once this grant goes away, if we have some concerns like what you're mentioning in a couple of years, even within this 2 years, we'll be able to do 60% of the work outside of this grant proposal, so we can use it for other uses. Outside of that, it can be 100% for whatever the city decides is a priority. Did you want to say anything?
Well, hold on one second. Do you have your question answered?
Yes, I'm satisfied.
Okay, we need to get, all right, thank you. Councilmember Peluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your comments, Councilmember Clark Murray. Just to let you know and everyone else, the zip codes are 32254, 08, 06, 02, 01. Paxton is a part of it. Lackawanna, a lot of your district is within Health Zone 1. So that's very apt that you would bring up some of those specific areas, because they are going to be, kind of seems like the main part of the CPA grant. I understand that it's coming out of the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which I know right now there's a lot of federal discussion about cutting certain funding. So we want to make sure that we get these funds in our city hands as soon as possible. We all know the risk of the JTA dollars and what may or may not happen to those at the federal level. So the faster we can kind of make sure that we have access to these dollars, the better. Keep in mind when we talk about disadvantaged areas, and it was alluded to by Councilmember Clark Murray, we have I-10, we have 95, you also have MLK, roads that were built on top of a specific neighborhood. So when we talk about potential lung issues, right, that's one of the reasons, because of the large amount of traffic and congestion that's created by it. We also have the fact that there's a super fund there. Also out east, to the east of out east in the Talleyrand area, you have a waste treatment plant as well as a lot of shipping activity. So there's plenty of issues involving the creation of asthma and things like that. As I look at a document here that was posted by the EPA with the city of Jacksonville, Health Zone 1 has seen a growth in population by 0.2%, whereas the rest of Duval County is 12%. Median income is $27,000, $792. Rest of Duval County is $52,888. So we are seeing an area that is highly disadvantaged, and these dollars and this work will at least help make sure that when it comes to the respiratory issues that we know are concentrated in areas where, hell, this is also an ash site. We're going to kind of hopefully get more answers on what that looks like. So I asked that we vote it up, and I know we have a large agenda, but I just kind of want to speak to that.
All right. We have no other speakers in the queue, so we will go ahead and open the ballot. Record your votes.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2025-278. All right, moving on to item number 9, and if we can, we're gonna do timers for everyone speaking, just because I know we do have like 2 big items coming up in the back. I just want to make sure that we're on time for that. So we're gonna go 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and I think we'll just be mindful of that, and we need to adjust it by the time we get to some bigger bills, we can. All right, item number 9, 2025-279. All right, we have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing no discussion, open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-279. Item number 10, 2025-281. All right, we have a motion and a second on the bill. Any discussion? Seeing none, I have a question for Mr. Jeffrey. Can you just tell me what we can use this money for? Mike, can you turn the mic on? I think it's muted. Just push the button.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Good morning again. Travis Jeffrey. We're going to use this for owner-occupied rehab within our division.
Well, correct. What can you said unoccupied or occupied rehab?
Owner-occupied.
Owner-occupied
Yes,
rehab. Yeah. So what types of projects can be used in that program?
You want to adjust the owner-occupied rehab? Like what can we
Yeah,
do?
like what type of rehab? Like give me an
So-
example of something happens in my district where I can come to you and present. Yeah.
Absolutely. So through the chair, we have 3 owner-occupied rehab programs within the division. This is the limited repair program. We'll do up to $55,000 worth of repairs, anything other than a luxury item. And we're not going to do swimming pools or jacuzzi tubs or California closets, but other than that, we'll pretty much repair it. We also have the plumbing repair program where we'll do repipes and redo the drains, septic tank phase outs or septic tank repairs. And then we also have an emergency program where it's just like intimate danger type stuff where we'll change out a panel box, or if they've become wheelchair bound and they can't get into the home, we'll put wheelchair ramps in, stuff like that.
Okay, great. And all of those fall under the $257,000. That's the program that you just alluded to, because you said you kind of had 3.
Yes,
right?
yes, sir.
Okay, cool. And I think is this the one that we used okay, great. No, this is a great program. I love it, and it really it really helps people that have problems at their house that they just can't otherwise do. So I'm excited about that. So I don't see any other questions or speakers in the queue. So let's open the ballot. Record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-281. Item number 11, 2025-282. All right, a motion and a second on the bill. Councilmember Boylan, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is Sherry Pollock here? Or someone from planning?
There she is. Yep.
Oh, come on down, Sherry. Just, obviously, I don't have an issue with this at all. Obviously, we're doing this, but I guess the question I should ask is, why is it I didn't know about this at all until I saw it on the agenda? But should you be contacting the council members and letting them know that you're considering these kind of road changes? And if I missed it, I apologize. But
Cherry Pollock, Office of General Counsel. And Sophie is here from the addressing section. And you are correct, through the chair to Councilmember Boylan, this street name change is in your district, but because there were no address changes, you were not notified. Usually the staff would do that, but we'll make sure to do that in the future to make sure that you are notified.
Not just for myself, but for all my colleagues. I think it is common sense for us to have at least an awareness that this, however modest this is, and it is very modest, I get it, but for me not be able to communicate that I was aware of it's coming or pending would be helpful next time. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Apologize for that.
All right.
Add anything to that? Okay.
What did she? What? Yeah,
This
if you
is
want to.
Sophie from the addressing section. I didn't know if she wanted to add anything. Nothing. No.
Okay. Yep.
Nothing to add.
And my understanding, just to add additional, commentary, is that the street name currently is Swooping Willow Court, but everyone calls it Swooping Willow Court West, so they decided to add the W. But nonetheless, it always is good to know what's going on in the district. So with that, open the ballot, record your votes. Swoop.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2025-282. Item number 12, 2025-283. Motion and a second on the bill. No discussion, no speakers. Open the bill. Councilmember Peluso.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to make sure that I fully understand. So Class 1 and Class 3, to the point of what Councilmember Salem said once before, is one of them stinky trash. So which one? Please speak to that.
Through the chair to Councilor Peluso, Class 1 or waste required to be disposed of in a Class 1 facility is your stinky trash.
Through the chair to the body, just want to make sure if you look at this address, I know this area quite well. I actually used to work over there. There's a ton of light industrial and heavy industrial on that part of Phillips Highway. I just want to make sure there's a lot of office parks. There's a lot of there's also people to the west of it, actual residences. So just kind of want to make sure if we're going to have smelly trash or stinky trash, that we're really cognizant of where this is going to go. I remember the one that we worked on in Councilmember Arias' district. I think it was specifically not stinky trash, so it made it a little bit easier, and also there were less residences nearby at that time. I got no problem with it. Certainly, I'm perfectly fine with Class 3, but I don't know. I just want to make sure that notice has gone out to residents, to neighbors, to businesses nearby. It would certainly probably be tougher to lease out some of these office spaces nearby. Just these are questions that I have that I would really like to kind of have a better understanding of.
Okay. Was your question directed to anyone in specific, or just whoever can answer it, or were you offering space in District 7 for? Kidding. Sorry.
There's not as much space as I would like. No, I think speaking to our solid waste folks would be helpful. If I know this came from Council President White. If there's someone with, GFL who might be here to speak.
Mr. Fuller, he's here. He go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Eric Fuller with the Solid Waste Division. Through the chair to Councilmember Peluso. CONs, Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessities, require a 300-foot notice to all property owners within that 300 feet of the boundary of the facility, so those have been set out. The closest residential properties are over 950 feet to the west of this location across 4 sets of railroad tracks. So notices have been sent out, and that's the closest residential property. Currently, this is a portion of a larger property owned by GFL where they bring in commercial garbage trucks as part of their commercial hauling operation, so it is already receiving a good bit of truck traffic on this parcel. I know they have spoken to their neighbors about it and explained it to it, and according to them, they have no concerns from their neighbors, but they're certainly here if you would like to talk to them directly.
Through the chair. Your Chair, yeah, I would love to have GFL come up here and see if they might be willing to not move forward on Class 1, or at the very least, if there's been conversation. I mean, yeah, okay, so it's 900 feet. We all know, based on what we were talking about a moment ago with the EPA grant, all you need is the wrong wind to blow stuff in your direction, and 900 feet feels like 2 feet. And yes, there are many interesting smells in the urban core, and I just want to make sure that we're not expanding that.
All right, we'll go ahead and put 2 minutes on the clock, and then we're going to go to Councilmember Clark Murray.
Yeah, good morning. Edward Schmalfeld, GFL Environmental. So we do have that facility. It formerly was used as a recycling facility 10, 15 years ago. We're repurposing the building. It's a building with 3 sides on it. We are planning on accepting Class 1 and Class 3. The Class 1 would be going to the Trail Ridge facility, and this is more of a means to logistically stop these trucks from going on the east side of town and the south side of town all the way over to Trail Ridge. Waste is not allowed to be there for more than 20 or 48 hours. Our intent is to have the building cleared at the end of every day.
All right.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. That satisfies my concerns, especially, if it's going to Trail Ridge shortly thereafter. I feel better.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, Councilmember Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. In his explanation, he answered a few of my questions. It seemed like I just recalled that it was already an area that was being used, but now you're just repurposing it for kind of a layover stop for certain classes of solid waste. It seems like that's the purpose now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Very simple. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Councilmember Salem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. It's my understanding to the auditors, this is in Councilman Arias's district, correct?
Through the chair to Councilmember Salem, that's correct.
And he's fully aware of this and has vetted it and all those things to your knowledge.
As far as I'm aware, he is in support of this.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. Thank you. Just wanted to reassure the committee of that.
All right, no other speakers in the queue. We did get a motion in a second, so open the ballot, record your votes.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
Fire action, you've approved 2025-283. Item number 13, 2025-284. We have a motion. Do we have a second on the amendment? What was that? Oh, okay. Item number 13. Can someone please explain the amendment?
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment corrects some language, just some English, corrects the serial number of one of the items that is being surplused, clarifies the reason for the waiver, which is that the city is disposing of property at less than the fair market value, and then also attaches a revised Exhibit 2, which is our property forms, to correct the information as it relates to the 2 computers.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? All right. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Councilmember Boylan, you're recognized. Then Councilmember Miller.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mr. Peterson about the auditor note at the bottom of the page.
Through the chair to Councilor Boylan, we always want to try to provide you as much information as possible, and so just making you aware that the entity that you would be disposing of this property, the van and the 2 computers too, is on our Chapter 118 non-compliance list due to a reporting issue. It doesn't have to do with the use of these assets, but just to make you fully aware in case that might alter your decision.
And Mr. Chair, if I could ask very quickly, is anyone from ACE Medical or is Ms. Ray here to speak to where we are in reconciling that reporting issue?
You can go ahead and start the timer. Yep, there we go. Cool. Ms. Ray, you're recognized.
Thank you. Laura Villafora-Ray, Program Coordinator of Opioid Abatement with JFRD. Through the chair to Councilmember Boylan, regarding them being on the Chapter 118 non-compliance list, this was due to their audit not satisfying the requirements of the audit per the agreement and per Chapter 118. So they were recently placed on the list. They are in communication with us, they're cooperating, and they have every intention of submitting a revised audit.
All right. Councilmember Miller, you're recognized.
The chair. I also had a question about this. It says the city does not have a use for a 2-year-old van? Is it really that we don't have a use for it, or that's part of the original agreement, so now that van will still be used for opioid-related matters, and that's part of that agreement? Because obviously, I'm sure we could find a good use for that van. Could you explain that a little bit, please?
Through the chair to Councilmember Miller, happy to clarify this. So this is a reimbursement grant. It operates very similarly to public service grants, with a few caveats, of course, with the monies being more specific, more narrow use, if you will, because they must be approved per the opioid settlement agreement with the state. How it worked with this particular purchase is we didn't actually reimburse the full cost of the van. The agency, Ace Medical, purchased the van in full. I believe it was over $50,000, if I'm recalling correctly. We reimbursed a portion of that, $40,000. And so in order, once this agency was no longer being funded under our program, we needed to make a decision as a city as to what we wanted to do with these capital outlay items, the van and the laptops. And we had a discussion with several individuals, including the CFO, Office of General Counsel, and then internal discussions with our office. And it was determined that in order to retain the vehicle, to get it back, we would have to pay Ace Medical a portion, since we had not purchased the van at its full price. So we would need to do that, and then we would need to then determine a use for the van, or put it up for public auction or something of that nature. It seemed to be a better course of action in this case, and it also followed the precedent that PSG had taken in this past fiscal year as well, to instead ask the agency if they would be willing to purchase the van back from us, less depreciation, and with the understanding that, of course, we had only paid a portion. So under the advice of Office of General Counsel, we used Kelly Blue Book value and the knowledge of like the mileage and such things in order to come up with what we thought was a reasonable amount, and the agency agreed to it. And we just felt that it would be more ideal to have approximately $26,000 back in our fund, which could be used for future grant awards.
Man, well, if you have any openings in Council Auditor's Office, we'd love to have you. So with that, there's no other speakers in the queue. Let's open the ballot, record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2025-284. All right, so before we go to item number 14, we're going to go to item number 14 last on the agenda. We're going to get some of our guests out of here before that. So we will skip, well, we're not really skipping 14, we're kind of pushing 14. So we're going to go to item number 21 on page 14. United Way is here, and we're going to go to them first. So 2025-303. We have a motion and a second on the bill. And if everyone has any questions or discussion, we can take those up. If not, we'll just go ahead and open the ballot. But we've got Councilmember Miller. You're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Through the chair, just looking at this PSG budget amendment request form, breaking down the changes, it seems a lot of these are shifted funds for things that I would think we already budgeted for and had already allocated revenue for. And so I just want to understand this change. Actually, multiple changes on that spreadsheet that was issued out. Could anybody answer that?
Good morning, Melanie Pat, CEO, United Way Northeast Florida, 40 East Adams Street, Suite 310. You are correct, through the chair, Councilman Miller, that these are items that are traditionally included in the budget. When we submitted the final term sheet, we included that it would be staff and operations. We had some miscommunication with the grants department, and so we're correcting that now.
Okay, so it wasn't that there was a change and you no longer had, you now have the COO doing additional duties someone else was doing before, a shift in that. It was just that accounting-wise, between you all and the grants, this wasn't all accounted for as it should have been. So we're making correction of errors. Is that what you're saying through the chair?
Yeah, so we are, through the chair, we are correcting a mistake of a budget and a term sheet that was originally submitted and approved. And for that specific position, we had a 211 director who was originally in the budget. That person left the organization prior in October, and so the COO has taken on additional duties. We have not filled that position as of today.
Okay, and through the chair to the auditors, this is, you all have no concerns with these adjustments?
Through the chair to Councilmember Miller. So to go back in time a little bit, the budget came to you with $150,000 program for 211. Through the Finance Committee actions, an additional $100,000 was added. When discussing this with Ms. Patz a couple weeks or months ago, it feels like, she informed me that the budget that had been submitted was not what the budget that had been approved was not what they had intended to submit. So looking at these dollars now, these fall in line pretty much with a lot of the other organizations where we cover a portion of the salaries, some of the benefits, and then some of the programming costs. It's no new dollars that is leaving the city, so from that standpoint, our office didn't have any real heartburn with it.
Okay, thank you both.
Councilmember Paluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to reiterate, this is not new money, right? This is money that we already appropriated. So it's not as if we're kind of doing a ton of stuff. We're just correcting an issue that was made that we're fixing. I also added myself as a co-sponsor, so I'm very supportive of this.
All right, no other speakers in the queue. Open the ballot, record your votes.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2025-303. All right, we're going to go now to item number 17 on page 12, 2025-288. We have a motion and a second on the bill, and we do have someone from JSO here if anyone has any questions. All right, Ms. Clark Murray, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The representative from JSO, come forward.
Tyler Lepore, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
Hey, Mr. Lepore, how are you doing today?
Good.
So, as you may know, the shooter on the FSU campus, he accessed the weapon that he used. I'm going to say allegedly belonged to his stepmom, who was or is a law enforcement officer with, I believe, Tallahassee. So are there any, is there any language or anything in place in this bill or that could be amended, this bill could be amended so that family members of officers don't have access or are able to use the weapons that I'm going to use the term retired with the officer?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Clark Murray, this bill currently does not have any language relating to that specifically. However, the firearm would become personal property after that officer retires, so it would be up to them to safely store and secure those firearms, just like they would any of their other personal firearms.
And so along another line, with that being said, does that deplete the supply of weapons, or is there some kind of write-off? Is there some kind of benefit to allowing that officer to retain his weapon or firearm?
Currently, under current pre-existing code, patrol and corrections officers can currently, after serving 20 years for the city, they can retain those firearms. This just adds judicial officers. Currently, in the next 5 years, there's only about 10 to 14 that are expected to retire at the 20-year mark. So the financial burden would be minimal.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Councilmember Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to be added as co-sponsor to include the judicial officers who have served for an extended period, just like those listed, is important. So I definitely agree with including them as well. Thank you.
All right. We have no other speakers. Legislative Services, please add me as a co-sponsor as well. So with that, let's go ahead and open the ballot. Record your vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2025-288. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and go back to page 10, item number 14, 2025-285. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second on the amendment? Can someone get a second on it? Did we get one? Okay, sorry, I didn't hear it. All right, we have a motion. Can someone please explain the amendment?
Through the chair to the committee, this is one of our not fund amendments where we're bringing an item to you that you kind of have to make an additional decision on. So this bill would require a publication of a notice if there is an affidavit that is signed in the affirmative by a spouse or a child by the entity who would receiving a direct contract. It has to be put out to notice to the public in case there's other organizations that might be able to provide that same service. But the legislation does not identify the entity responsible for posting that on the city's website for notification. So we need to clarify who that is. You'll need to make a decision on that. The other item is number 2 is clarifying which council committee will evaluate any proposals that might come in. The legislation's unclear on whether or not that's a certain committee, all committees, city council as a whole. So you need to make a decision on that. The other items are very technical in nature. Item 3 is updating the listing of 126, 108 subsections. You might recall that you rewrote the purchasing code not long after taking office. And so we need to make some updates in Chapter 118 to reflect that rewrite. And then that's also relevant to number 4, striking the reference to 2 code sections that no longer exist. And then clarifying that the affidavit that is filled out will be attached as an exhibit to the bill. And there's various scriveners as well.
All right, so pretty thorough amendment there. So we need to go through items number 1 and 2. So, council members, I guess, just be thinking about that, and we can kind of get those teed up individually. But for now, we'll go through whoever wants to speak and ask questions. First up, Councilmember Salem. You have your own amendment. Okay, Councilmember Peluso.
Thank you, Chair. And I think that I would just personally like this to be as all-encompassing as possible. I don't know if we have anyone from the IG's office that can maybe provide some recommendations on that as well. But I do want to hear what Councilmember Salem's amendment is as well. But I'm happy to see this letter from their office. And the more we could add into this, the better, I think. But I'd like to hear what Councilmember Salem's amendment looks like.
Okay. Did you have a question for IG, you said, or?
Are they in the audience?
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. So.
All right, so that's a negative. Well, first and foremost, before we go to Councilmember Salem's amendment, this amendment, real quick, we have to clarify the party responsible for the notice. So Mr. Peterson, can you tell us, who does it say now, or why do we need to clarify that?
Through the chair to the committee. So the legislation as it stands now says if there's a connection noted that relates to the spouse or a child of an entity that is proposed to receive funding, publication at the time of filing of the legislation of a notice on the city website for at least 2 weeks saying the city is considering a direct contract and will accept other proposals. But it doesn't identify who is responsible for making that notice. So our recommendation would be to add it in here so that there's no ambiguity as to who is responsible for making that notice.
Who typically makes the notice?
Well, for all of our contracts, that would fall in the procurement division.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to make the responsible party for publication of the notice to the city website be procurement. So we'll kind of pin that, being checked off the list for number 1. Number 2, clarify which council committees will be responsible for review of other proposals. So we posted on the website, posted on the website for 2 weeks. We get other proposals back. Someone has to, I guess, review those proposals and determine. So who does that?
So through the chair to the committee, the language that is in the bill right now says any proposals received by the city shall be reviewed by the council prior to action on the legislation. Based on a number of comments of the 19 council members, I doubt that that's something you want to do at a city council meeting. So your options, in my mind, are you can say any bill that any committee that the bill is assigned to would review them, but you might get 2 or 3 or 4 different suggestions after reviewing those proposals. You could have procurement put together a matrix, laying out the proposals that were received and maybe a scoring of them. There's a bunch of different ways to do that, but we need to be clear on who's going to be responsible for evaluating any proposals that might be received.
Okay, so we have to. So it has to come to council committees. I mean, it doesn't have to, but why wouldn't it go to the mayor, like the administration, to do that? Because that kind of gets into this weird. Now we're reviewing these proposals. Like, what? I don't understand how that would play out in committee.
I don't either.
Got it. All right, so that's leaving us a big kind of question mark. So we'll go through the rest of the queue. Maybe we'll come back to that one. So Councilmember Salem, do you want to? Are you in the queue to offer your amendment? Okay, Councilmember Clark Murray, did you have any questions on this amendment?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So we went through those 2 items, oversight and then the committees. To Mr. Peterson or maybe to Ms. Stepopoulos, what is the procedure now for determining when a bill or which committees a bill goes to or travels through?
Through the chair to Councilmember Clark Murray. So the process is that the Legislative Services Division will take all of the newly introduced bills and create a list and make recommendations of which committees it should be assigned to based on similar legislation or that may have gone through the process and based on the charge that's listed to each committee in the council rules. And they submit that list to the rules chair, who's responsible for making determinations on, do we keep them in those committees? Do they belong in other committees? Do they not belong in a certain committee? And ultimately, the final approval is the president's, but traditionally the president will accept the recommendations of the rules chair, who in turn traditionally accepts the majority of the recommendations from the Legislative Services Division. The council secretary and myself are also a part of that process with the rules chair. So by the time it gets to the president, it's pretty well formulated which ones it would go to. Obviously, that's all subject to council discussion on introduction at council. If a council member feels that a new or a different committee it should be hearing a bill, they can raise that on the night of introduction of that bill, but that's how the assignment process works for each piece of legislation.
So through the chair to Mr. Stepopoulos, would that process work for this particular bill, or is it just, or would it not?
Through the chair to Councilmember Clark Murray. So based on that process, if this committee were to recommend an amendment to provide that whichever committees the bill is assigned to would also hear the proposals, what that means is it could change depending on the nature of the legislation. Traditionally, those types of, the Chapter 118 types of grants that you're dealing with here, traditionally they're just going to neighborhoods and finance, but if there's a waiver, which there often is, the 118-107 waiver, that automatically places it in rules as well. So what you would end up with is the potential for different committees to hear certain things depending on the assignments, or the other thing to consider is that each committee would then be responsible to review the proposals, and you may have differentiating positions from each of the committees on which proposal would be the appropriate one to go with. And so that would be a part of that additional process that would be undertaken in the committees.
All right, thank you for that. Through the chair, anyone from the mayor's administration want to come forward and just, with the time that I have remaining, expound on where you can expound on the oversight aspect and the committee aspect as well?
Good morning, Joe Enderhees, Deputy Chief of Staff, Mayor's Office. I think that Mr. Peterson hit on it in terms of suggesting some sort of matrix that would come out of procurement as a starting point in order to be able to guide whichever committee it ends up getting assigned to with an evaluation process, I think would be appropriate.
And that's for the committee aspect, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have any thoughts about oversight? We suggested procurement.
Procurement, I think, is the appropriate spot to land this.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Councilmember Salem, you're still in the queue. You want to go ahead?
I have a meeting outside the building, and I'm going to bring my amendments up in finance tomorrow.
Okay, understood. All right. So oh, wow, what happened to the queue? Everyone just got crazy. All right. So did we address all the items in this amendment, or are we still? Councilmember Peluso, are you on this amendment? We have Councilmember
No,
Peluso.
I was thinking about offering another amendment based on what we just heard. Let's go ahead and move forward on this, I guess, if you got other people in the queue.
Okay, we'll go through the rest of the queue. Councilmember Miller, you're on the bill. Okay, Councilmember Boylan.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if it's appropriate to do so. My suggestion that we defer this bill until we get that second question answered. It sounds like a very complicated resolution to this process that we need to see what the matrix is going to look like before we move forward. I mean, in principle, I've been supportive of the bill, but it clearly is incomplete at this point in time, so I'd like to move for deferral.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second on the deferral, and I'll make it easy on everybody. We'll just go ahead and defer it. So, too many questions. Yeah, go ahead.
To clarify the deferral, if I may, just to make sure that at a point in time that the administration is able to come back to us with appropriate resolution to item number 2 of the amendment offered by the auditors.
Okay. I think they took notes on that. They heard it loud and clear. And Councilmember Miller, did you want to? Go ahead. You can speak to it if you want.
Through Chair. Thank you, Chair. I will say I also have no problem with the basic concept, more transparency. We do need to work out those details and make sure we have those straight, though I agree. And so I support the deferral. But I also want to just put something on the table. I think I get what we're trying to get at here. However, I want to also make sure that we're addressing other things. And I had an example, and I brought that up with a couple people when they, from the administration, when they discussed this with me. But when we have other things like, and I'll just give an example, quick example, and we have someone who gets a direct contract from an elected official, and they don't do the work of the contract. They sub it all out, and they just happen to be somebody who supported somebody so they could get elected, had a victory party for that person. There were other things that happened, and scrutiny on criminal record, other things like that. I want to make sure if we're going to start down this road, we actually address those types of known things that have occurred. Not just the IG, but also those like Ms. Miller with solid ethics background. We need to shore up those kinds of things too, and not bypass those items too. So I would ask the groups that are focused on this, and it seems more focused on city council members, although yes, it does include the mayor. But I would ask that we also submit any type of legislation that shores up those kinds of things to try to minimize them from happening again. We all know, I didn't give specifics on that, but I think we all know what I'm talking about. And so I would ask that we shore up things like that, because our constituents know when those things happen, and even if they don't, they deserve better than those type of actions to be taken. So again, in general, I support what's trying to be achieved here, but I also say let's take it beyond that, and let's address those known issues that have occurred in the past. Thank you.
All right. So I think there's definitely quite a bit of questions and changes that everyone's going to be wanting to see through this. So perhaps the administration can get the amendment squared away, and then the rest of the bill, we'll see how it goes from there. So I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks. So 14 is deferred. Item number 15, 2025-286. We got it. Yep. All right. Motion is second on the withdrawal. This is the PACE program. All right. See you later, PACE. All right. Open the ballot, record your vote for withdrawal.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved, or you have withdrawn 2025-286. We already took up item number 16. Item number 17, we already took up. Item number 18, 2025-289. Motion is second on the bill. No one in the queue. Open the ballot, record your vote.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2025-289. Item number 19, 2025-291 is deferred. Item number 20, 2025-293. All right, we have a motion and a second on the withdrawal. This is the Councilmember Peluso's bill, and you're in the queue. So, Councilmember Peluso.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to let everyone know, so yeah, we're withdrawing this as a resolution. The intention of the resolution was to start having a conversation about what this could look like with the intent of, and once it gets passed, the administration would then take that and place it in their budget. Because if you were at the meeting, you would have seen our attorneys had recommended to us that this looks like a conflict of powers issue, but you as the council has the power to create said registry and create positions as you see fit. So I honestly didn't want to go forward with an ordinance because I thought that might be too, bold. I wanted to get everyone up to speed on what this looks like. However, we're just going to do it now. So I intend to have a notice meeting or two to make sure that everyone is understanding and comfortable with what this bill could look like. But there will be an ordinance that I will be filing in the coming weeks that now will take action and will create a registry, an office, and possibly an FTE position. And I welcome comments and questions from not only you but your constituents as well. So we'll withdraw this today, but there will be more to come.
All right. Let's open the ballot and record your votes for the withdrawal.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have withdrawn 2025-293. Man, we are saving a lot of time next Tuesday. I'll just tell you that right now. PACE, landlord registry. Whew. Wow. Anyways, just wanted to bring that up. Next Tuesday is going to be a long night, so I'm just saying. If those two were still on there, we'd be really there late. All right, number 21, we already took up. 22 is deferred. 23, 24, 25, 26, our second reading. 27 was deferred. Did we defer 27? Okay, 27 is deferred. We got some stuff. Finance has got a lot of work to do. 28, 29, second reading. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 are all on second reading. All right, is there anyone else that needs to say anything? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.